Nannette is about to come on and blow your mind as far as how you can attract and create, manifest, and just play and dance and sing and live this epic life with your soulmate clients. And what is a soulmate client? How do you attract that person and create that person in your life? Stick around. There's going to be a powerful interview that opens up all kinds of possibilities for you. Before that, I just want to say thank you for being here, for choosing to be your greatest possible self. And specifically, I would love to meet up with you in person at Meant for More Live coming up here in April 24th, 25th, and 26th. It is Petya Kolibova's event. It's a women's empowerment event here in Las Vegas. And it's going to be a freaking blast. So would love to meet you there. I'm going to be emceeing, I believe, and speaking, having a lot of fun. So would love to see you there. And again, it's in Las Vegas. Go to meantformore.live and you'll be able to see the details on that. So thanks in advance. And I look forward to seeing you. Next up is our iTunes review of the week. This week, it's by Inspiration J, or J Inspiration, Greatest Possible Podcast. Chris is committed to being his best, his guests being their best, and his audience being inspired to take action to transform their lives. J Inspiration, 100%. I am. And if you want a chance to get shouted out on a future 12-hour live stream, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes or search Greatest Possible Self on the Apple Podcast Store. Give us a review there. Let us know what you love, what you want to see more of, and how we can improve the show for you. Thank you in advance. I'm going to introduce Nannette in just a second here. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes. This is going to be the fire that ignites you and your business. So stick around, and we're going to have a lot of fun because this woman, man, she's just well connected. Got introduced to her by two former marathon guests, Maximilian and Aaron's about to come on in the future, actually. So she's a prospective marathon guest. But Nannette Minley, this woman, is amazing. She supports healers, coaches, and visionary creators as they structure their offers, clarify their message, and call in soulmate clients via social media in a way that makes them feel alive and aligned. In her 10 plus years of marketing online, she has discovered that most marketing problems are due to a lack of clarity or mistaken beliefs about what marketing really needs to look like. Because of this, she has devoted her career to ushering in a new paradigm for marketing for everyone who is ready to grow their business without fake scarcity, shaming tactics, or aggravating pain points. Can I get a amen? Nannette, we are about to rock this house. Are you ready to bring it, girl?
Yes, I'm so excited to be here.
We are live and become your greatest possible self, Nannette. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Thank you for being here and sharing your time, your energy, your wisdom, your experience with us and our audience. We're going to dive right in. The theme of the day is you are meant for more. What does that mean for you, Nannette?
I love that because I think that when people are creating their business, which is a lot of what I'm talking about today,
Yep.
they have that sensation within them, like this isn't right. The 9-to-5 grind isn't totally fulfilling. And there's a moment that people, I think, have to have with themselves where they do come to that realization that they are meant for more, and that they not only have to wish that they had more or want more. There's more of a purpose that kind of engages at that point.
Yeah.
And then they can actually go and take the action to create the more.
Yep.
Right. So I love that because I think a lot of people, keep it really general with that kind of statement. Oh, you're meant for more. But it's actually, when you engage all of yourself, including your imagination, but also your action, then you can actually have more. It's not super complicated, but you have to have both sides of that. So that's what it means to me.
I love it. Engage everything. You're embodying who you're being to create that more. And also I heard I don't know if disgust is the right word, but you're no more. I'm not going to be that way anymore. I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. That old version of me is done. Thank you.
Yes.
I love you. And this is who the F I am, just claiming that and owning that. And there's a transformation that happens.
That's such a vibe for me right now. That's such a vibe for me. I totally resonate with this. So yeah.
I love it, Nannette. So I mentioned in your bio about who you are, what you stand for, what your clients come to you for. And in your own words, why don't you just dive into that a little bit deeper and share what you're bringing to your clients today?
Sure. Yeah. So I work with a lot of people who maybe they have a story or a message to bring to the world, and they know that they're here to do something important. They know that they are meant for more. They know that they have some sort of purpose, but they tend to either fall in line with what everybody else is doing when they're creating their business,
Mhm.
or not create their business. It's kind of like one or the other. And so when they fall in line, especially as people who are here as visionaries, it actually takes things and doles them out so much that they're no longer having the impact that they want to have. So what I mean is, if they believe that they're here to share their message, but someone's telling them to not give too much away with their marketing or with their content, then they find themselves at odds in those kinds of situations. And so a lot of what my work is like asking questions when my clients are doing things like kind of unconsciously, like, oh, well, I can't say that. I'm like, well, why? Why can't you say that? Do you believe that when people are investing with you, they're investing in your content? Or are they investing in being in your energetic field? Are they investing in being in your vibe, right? And like having you hold them accountable to a certain vibration, because that's what I believe is happening, whether you're a healer or a coach, or really just hold space for any kind of transformation. And so I believe that the people that resonate with me, and a lot of people that resonate with you, have to market a different way. Like, we'll just have to market a different way. Otherwise, we're going to like dilute the potency of our marketing and then ultimately shoot ourselves in the foot by not having enough clients because everything just feels off. And so that's what I do, a lot of that, but it's honestly troubleshooting. So if I find somebody who has plateaued or who, has had inconsistent results financially in their business and all of that, we normally we figure out, okay, is this something to do with the offer? Is it with how you relate to your own offer, which is part of what I hope to talk about with you today? And even more than that, like, what are your beliefs around your content marketing? Do you believe you have to have a funnel before you even know what you're doing with that funnel? I actually love funnels, but most of the time people are implementing into their business at the wrong time, in the wrong order, without any kind of idea or intention. And so I help people like really analyze all of their marketing decisions through the lens of intuition, through the lens of like real clear vision for themselves. So there's nothing in their business that's unconscious, and nothing in their business that's, just there because someone said it should be there. Like, everything is where it should be because you want it to be there.
Right.
So
I hear the alignment in everything, and not allowing misalignment or fear or exhaustion, tired because I have to force constriction. That doesn't enter in because we're so intentional about how the fuck do I feel right now? Am I bringing every bit of me to my business, or am I holding something back because I believe something or because I feel a certain way about something? So I hear like really like total alignment.
For sure. Yeah. And I hear a lot of this with clients when it comes to like they're multi-passionate, or they've had a lot of different interests or even different facets of their personality that they feel they're not allowed to bring in, for example, a lot of people that I work with are like spiritual entrepreneurs.
Super woo.
And then they feel like they can't charge high ticket, or they feel like they can't, charge for certain things. And I'm like, okay, so we got to like do a lot of reckoning there and like just really examining where these beliefs come from. And a lot of them are just there from centuries ago, like when healers didn't make money, and I was like, okay, but that was a different time. They were supported in this other way, like it was different. And so I truly believe like in having like satisfaction like throughout your business, and alignment is a really like on point word right now, but for me it's even like deeper into like a sense of satisfaction when it comes to the services that you're providing, the way that you're marketing, the people that you're talking to. It all gets to feel amazing. And there's this belief that like, oh, you got to sacrifice here, you got to like, deal with this awesome thing over here. But I'm like, but do you really? And I don't necessarily believe that there's no parts of business that are going to be difficult. That's not the point. It's just, it should all be energizing. It should all be satisfying. You should be anchored enough into your vision where if you do get into those parts where they're a little bit more boring, like filing LLC paperwork, you're doing your taxes, which we need to do, right? You're still hyped because you know that this is a part of your vision. This is a part of like your big thing that you're building into the world, and so that's the ideal. That's like the ultimate transformation that from end to end that I help people with.
I love it. Right on 12/12 for us. I love it. You're an hour ahead, but you know what I mean. So this is gold. I want to go back into your journey, Nannette. Talk about why you got inspired to do marketing and really just go down this path first. Like, how did your intuitive abilities develop? Did you have those experiences before marketing, with marketing, after marketing? Tell us.
That's a great question. So I have just always been good at marketing. Like
Yeah.
since I was a child, like
I love it.
very, very young, I've had some sort of business. I made my first $5 like cleaning up my neighbor's backyard. She had some like stuff fall down from a tree, but then after that, I was like buying candy and flipping it. I was always doing something, and I thought that my skills were sales, which I am pretty good at sales. Like I'm not bad at it, but I understand sales and marketing in a very different way from most people. It's always been very experiential for me.
Yeah.
Like everything that would contribute to someone making a decision on buying something from you is marketing. Like it's all a part of it. And I learned that really like a lot more intensely when I worked for Apple. So I worked for Apple in like my mid 20s or earlier 20s rather, for a brief time, maybe like a year and a half. And while I was there, we talked a lot about like maintaining the store, making sure everything looked a certain way and making sure we carried a certain energy. And so that's when it started to click for me that this way that, the way that I was looking at marketing is actually how some high level corporations are marketing.
Wow.
They're thinking about the experience. And so that's what like kind of clicked this all in place for me. I was always into personal development. I was always into marketing, but I didn't really allow myself to experience the woo aspect of it until the end of 2016, when at this point I was running something for artists. It was like marketing for artists or something like that. I've switched niches, but I've always been talking about marketing. And I had a psychic join my group, like super randomly. She was an artist, but she was also psychic. She reached out to me and she's like, I have to talk to you. And I was like, okay, whatever. And she talked to me and said, you're supposed to work with spiritual entrepreneurs. And I said,
wow.
What?
Wow.
Me? I had not really put anything. I talked about vision boarding, you know what I mean? But that was like it.
Right.
So when she told me this, I was honestly scared. I was like, I'm thinking and immediately go into scarcity. Like those people don't like to spend anything. They don't like to charge for anything. What am I going to do? And there was just a lot of fear.
Sure.
But when she said it, I remembered like feeling that she was right. Like, I agree with you. I just know. Right. And I went to later learn that I have like claircognizance, which I didn't know what the name was or anything like that. But it was one of those things where I just believed her. And so it was at the end of the year, 2016, I shut everything down. And 2017, I started with spiritual entrepreneurs. So then from there, I started to intentionally develop my intuition, like learning about tarot and learning about other things. But I've just been marketing with those people, and a lot of them just been following me through all these different things. And I'm finally, like in their niche. So they're like, yes, it's kind of been a really cool journey so far.
Damn. I love it. I love it. Let's start diving in to these intuitive spiritual entrepreneurs and especially attracting their soulmate clients. Like, where do you feel that they are not hitting the mark on that specifically?
Yeah. So my biggest, I've been talking about this since I started spiritual entrepreneur marketing. So several years now. And almost every single time that I've talked to someone about this, or they're having a challenge, it's almost always that they feel that they have to be a certain way or package themselves a certain way or offer something a certain way that they're trying to figure out. And it's always like this, looking for the key, looking for the pill, looking for the right combination or formula outside of themselves, right? So they're downloading freebies, they're downloading everything under the sun to try to make it work, and they think, oh, this is it. But it's never going to be it. Even if the strategy would be amazing for you, if you don't have clarity around how you want to engage your soulmate clients, who they are, and like where they're at in their journey, that's none of the strategies are going to do anything for you. And so people are really skipping the clarity. They're skipping the decision rather. It is clarity and decision, but they go right into strategies and then they screw themselves up. They kind of put the cart before the horse.
Damn.
So that's where I think a lot of people are missing the mark. They go on the offensive. They go, I gotta market, I gotta like get the people, but it's like, what people, where, who are they? And they're like, anybody who fits this, and I'm like, no. We gotta clarify that. Who do you want to work with? Who feels like, who energizes you? Who like brings the best out of you? That's your soulmate client.
Wow. And so I think having a foundation of discovering that's important.
Yeah.
Soulmate client, I've heard that before you. I haven't really dove into it too much, but I've also heard a lot more of target audience and avatar. Can you tell us a little bit more about the difference between them?
Yes. Thank you. I'm excited to talk about this. So when I hear ideal, okay, I'm just going to start with niches really quick because that's like a really important one.
Okay.
I believe that your niche is developed and cultivated over time, over multiple offers, over multiple, like campaigns. You don't just decide what your niche is, because again, cart before the horse. Your niche will form, but when it comes to the difference between ideal audience and ideal client and a soulmate client, they're just nowhere on the same field. I believe that soulmate clients are cosmically connected, and so what I mean is if you are inspired to create something, Chris, somebody somewhere is inspired to buy it or engage in it in some way. And I believe that to be true. I believe that's how the world continues to move us forward, is like a progression, and it's speeding up because people are actually following their intuitive impulses, which is fabulous, right? And that's how we're here. That's how I'm here. That's how you're here. I'm sure of it, right?
That's right.
So this progression has sped up, but I think it's because, people are starting to believe it, right? But the soulmate client is the person on the other end of your creative spark, right? So it's the person, it is kind of an avatar in a sense because there's going to be a group of people, but more specifically, you're building a soulmate like client avatar per product. It's not per your whole business. That's where the niche cultivates, like I said.
Right.
It's just for this offer. And this is important because everybody that you and I would be talking to, or anybody who's listening to this, their client is on a journey, right? They're on a transformational or healing journey. And so when you think about journeys, there's points to a journey, right? There's the part at the beginning where it's just a mess and everything's everywhere. And there's a part where they've gotten to, they've gotten some clarity. Now they know what they want, and so on and so forth. Everybody's on a journey. And so when you decide who your soulmate client is for a particular offer, then you're pinpointing a part of that journey. What beliefs are they holding right there? What intentions are they holding right there? What feels easy for them? What feels difficult for them? Because a lot of people will just say, oh, what are their pain points? You don't need those because people in the transformation industry, the healing industry, the coaching industry are being driven by growth. They're not like, oh, geez, I better get away from this pain. They're like, I want to embody this thing. I want to grow into that thing. And so utilizing pain points in the coaching and healing industry makes literally no sense to me. Like, I wish it would just go away. But there are challenges, right? But your soulmate client is coping somehow. They have to be, because you haven't created the thing yet. So figuring out where they're at, where they're going, what they want right now, and how they perceive their challenges isn't a really important part of this. So that's the difference. The ideal client is just like someone I'd ideally like to work with. It's so vague. And people normally write things like their age or their demographic or their gender. And I'm like, man, I have clients who are 55 and 18, but they're similar points in their journey because people wake up at all sorts of times.
Wow.
So I like to delineate and move away from just like the demographics and move more into where are they at on their journey? What do they desire? What do they crave out of life? So
I love this. I wanted to dive into this. For me, what's really worked well to attract people and things into my life, it's been like specific about the person. So for example, it's like creating an identity for them. For example, I had this determined David who I created. I created this guy and was talking about him on the marathon, right? And then like a couple days later, like I attract a guy named David and he ends up joining my mastermind, right? Because like I created this soulmate persona being, right? Like this one person versus saying, hey, it's like across a lot of different people, like them, right? Someone might say, I want to attract them versus I want to attract him or I want to attract her, right? And I attracted Katya, my girlfriend, because I said her, because of this woman, not all possibilities, but I knew the things that would make the difference. I'm curious, how does someone like speak into existence or manifest that soulmate client once they are crystal clear on where they're at in the journey? Because that can be a variety of different persons, right? So how do they do that?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is having the courage to be specific. So a lot of times when people are are saying them or anybody who, and then some other thing. It comes from this place of like, please, I hope there's somebody out there that fits this demographic or whatever. But when you're specific, like you were with David and Petya, like, you know that they're out there. It's coming from a totally different place energetically. So I think that this is really parallel to how you would do it in a business. It's not, are there clients out there for me? Is my soulmate client real? It's, hey, this is my soulmate client. There's 7 whatever billion people on the planet. I'm sure they will find me soon. And that level of certainty and the courage that it takes to be specific, I think are like really what you need to engage at that point in order to attract your person. Yeah.
Wow. And this, again, this applies anywhere, because I was thinking, like, we're talking about clients, but it also could apply to your love life. It also could apply to, let's say, like a sponsor or an investor in something as well, like identifying where is this person at along their journey so that they would want to invest in me, or let's say a mentor or a business coach, like any being, anything you want to attract in your life. I'm curious, just for fun, talking about objects, manifesting a car, manifesting a house. How would you relate to that and the journey that thing has been on, so to speak?
No, that's a really great question. So I'm currently working on manifesting some awesome things myself. And in terms of like, if I'm looking at these two situations and making a parallel, I think that, again, the specific is a really important part, but almost like once I've decided what that thing is or who that person is or whatever, I'm going to then turn back inward and say, okay, is there any part of me that's not energetically ready for that? Or is there any part of me that's not open to that? Right. And we do this in a very strategic way in business too. Like, if you want to be bringing in $20,000 a month, is that even possible? Do you have the processing power? Do you have the offers? Do you have the space? Right. So we bring it back inward and say, do I have the capacity to receive that thing right now or that client? And normally in the process of becoming ready, they show up, right? So that's kind of the thing. It's like a lot of times we'll energetically repel what it is that we're trying to create because we don't feel ready for it. And even if you are ready for it, just double checking and making sure, hey, actually, I have an onboarding system. I know exactly what's going to happen the moment that they say yes. I have a flow. Then it's a lot easier to get there. But I think that the unknowns, the little unknowns, they still trip us up sometimes. So I just like to do an audit internally and say, is there any part of me that's scared to have this, that doesn't feel ready for this, that, is just resistant to it for some reason? And then we just go to town on dealing with that.
I love that, Nannette. And especially, let's say someone wants to manifest a house, right? And like, how does it feel? What is the conversation that goes on between you and the realtor when you're signing the lease or the contract, the agreement or whatever, like, did you role play that out in your head to be able to create that so that you feel good and you feel like you mentally rehearsed and walked through? Because chances are, if someone hasn't done that, then there might be some like skeletons in the closet, so to speak, that we haven't yet dealt with,
they just you fall in line. And this is where like the intentional shift comes from, because like once you've actually decided what you want and then done the audit and said, okay, where am I not ready for this? If you skip that second part, or if you just go straight into trying to manifest it, what I think happens is like it'll show up nearby or close to you in some way, but then it just misses the mark. And if it does land in your lap, patterns will show up, like avoidance or whatever it is for you. Like, everyone's got their own thing, but it's, especially if it's something you're trying to shift out of that is repeating, right? So like, if you've never had a lot of clients or you've never had consistent clients, and you have someone show up in your inbox and you immediately go into, oh my God, like I don't want to get too excited because it's not going to work out, and you start kind of like negatively preparing. That's a perfect spot to say, okay, wait, let's like maybe rewrite the script a little bit. And I'll remember that anything can change. Every single moment of every single day is full of infinite possibility. So even if the last 20 times you had a sales call, you didn't make it, who's to say this next one is the same, right? So people have to really be like willing to let go of the past and willing to surrender to the present moment, for sure.
Wow. And you do this in troubleshooting with people, like live in a coaching session, consultations, things like that. You mentioned, what about me might still be energetically misaligned or not ready for this? What else can we do to like put the foundation in place to attract that soulmate client, to get ourselves ready to really show up and be able to receive that?
For sure. So one of the things that I like to do is to have people just brain dump.
Yeah.
Who do you want to work with? Like, just get super specific, even to the point of like, what's their style? Who do they like to, who are their favorite musicians? And it's more about a vibe, right? Like you're calling out to a specific energy. And so for me, with my clients, I will have them like think back to a client, like what was your favorite client of all time? Who was that? What did you like about them? Okay, who's your least favorite client of all time? What was the issue there? And every single time we have a new interaction with a potential client or a client, we continue to update that list. So we have like a working document and say, okay, so now we know that this is a standard and this is not allowed, or this is welcome, right? And so we start to use that document to create polarizing content. So we'll, when their marketing content is being created, they remember, oh yeah, I don't like this one particular aspect. So they'll stick it in to that post so they don't get that again, right? So this is like actively moving away from those patterns. So that's one of the best like exercises that I do with people. But I do a lot of like journaling, taking audit, realizing that, what are you wanting from this marketing? Like really at a soul level, right? What is it that you're craving? And if we realize it's validation, we redirect that. We say, okay, how can you just validate yourself right now? Is there another way to create that feeling for you? So then your marketing can be free to do what it's actually supposed to do, which is convert, and so just kind of separating the worth and the, self-value, all that stuff from marketing, ironically is what I have to do a lot of times, because a lot of the conversation around energetics and marketing is just entangled so bad. Like it's codependent and like, it's not like good business. And so a lot of the things that I'm doing with clients is separating them. It's like, yes, you have to think positive and all of those things, but you also have to like write things down and like,
take
do
action.
things. Whoa. Yeah. So those are some things that could help for sure.
That's gold. I love it. I want to dive even more into the marketing, because like you're great with this, and speaking to our audiences, what do we need to do in our copywriting and the communications that we do to really, capture their attention and convert that into like a conversation or a sale? Like, what do you see as the biggest components that need to be there?
People need to know that you can handle what they've got. So a lot of times people feel like the exception, right? Especially if they've been struggling with a particular pattern, or if they've just been stuck at a certain point. They need to feel that like you can hold that energy and help them transcend and shift, right? And so a lot of the issues that I'm seeing with copywriting lately is a lot of very high aspirational content, super lofty language, almost bordering on self-aggrandizing, which is fine, But the issue is that it makes you kind of unapproachable, right? And I need to know that I can show up, especially for healing and like coaching, at a personal level. I need to know that I can show up messy and you're going to be able to handle it. And so I think people are kind of dropping the ball on that aspect. It's good to inspire people to want more, to create more for themselves, but not at the expense of also making them feel safe with you, right? And safe and challenged. It's a really nice, like, you got to find a good balance with it.
Dance, yeah.
And on the flip side, there's a lot of people who are doing a ton of teaching and no selling, or a ton of selling and no teaching. And so we need to know that you're going to actually, like, if I'm not going to buy anything from you if I don't know that you're legit, right? I don't know if you actually know your stuff. So you have to share some of your educational stuff too, but not so much that people just expect it for free all the time and they never buy anything from you. So it's like, you gotta like find a nice little balance for yourself. The actual wording, within the post is going to be so different from person to person. But within the coaching and healing industry, like, you don't have to talk to pain points. You do not have to talk to pain points. I'm so glad I have this platform to say that, because you can talk about pleasure points. You can talk about desire points. Rock it out. Where do they want to go? What do they want to have? What do they want to be? Who do they want to be? But you don't have to go into I see you feel terrible. Your life sucks. And it's like, no, like that's not a way to get anybody to buy. That just gets people to feel bad about themselves. And that's not a good place energetically for them to take their wallet out. So I wanted
to ask about that, Nannette, because we talked about coping mechanisms and where they're at along their journey. How do we speak to a pain or somewhere where they might be at without necessarily saying we're going to drive the pain in so that they're, so that they want to take action? How do we identify it but not necessarily
That's
make
a great
it worse?
point. Yeah. So I like to talk in terms of behaviors because a lot of our soulmate clients are on a journey of consciousness, and some of them may not be as self-aware as we think they are. Right. And so for coachery world, we will throw out a lot of really lofty language, like I said, and it's almost like jargon. Yeah. So when you're talking to a pain point, you don't have to say, you feel like you have no sense of worth or whatever. You can talk to a behavior that would be the product of that. Yes. So, like, it really just depends on the service. But for me, like, I'll just use me as an example. It's a good way to do it. So I wouldn't say, you suck at marketing. I would say you put out a post, you thought it was fire, but nobody bought. What gives? And that's it. I don't have to go into your feelings. I'm not projecting. That's a big one, because a lot of times people will project their like stuff onto their clients, and I'm like, no. But looking at like the behavior at a really just surface level, and then keep going.
Wow. So it's the
behaviors. They'll draw their own conclusions.
It's good too to notice ourselves and our clients. What are the behaviors? If we look at like the things that we're doing wrong, we can be super hard on ourselves. But if we simply look at, hey, what are the behaviors that are happening in my marketing, in my sales, in my coaching, in my business, whatever, in my life, what belief pattern must be there driving that? I wonder what's there that would cause me to act in that way, to behave in that way, and like being curious about it and saying, I wonder, and not being so like beating ourselves up. That helps us too, Yeah,
staying curious is key, because and especially in my field, because people will start to tell all these stories about themselves, and they just create more stuff for us to clean up. And so that's why I always joke around. I was like, maybe it's not your energy. Maybe it's your sales page button isn't working, And so a lot of times people will start to pick themselves apart. What's wrong with my energy? Oh my God, and they freak out. I'm like, wait a second. Let's just explore. Let's see what's going on here. And I think that in order to really master this part, you have to be validating yourself on a regular basis. Otherwise, it's going to spill out into your marketing, into anything that you're trying to do, So that's like a really important part of all of this, is like validating yourself and remembering that staying curious is always just literally more helpful. So just don't even go there. Just don't.
Yeah. I love it. In terms of your clients, talk about structuring offers. What is important to have in the offer so that it sells? Like what have you seen really work there?
Yeah. So this is more relative to the person again, which is, you'll find a lot of my answers start with that, but you need to feel energized by your offer. You need to be excited to talk about it. You need to be excited to do it. It needs to be so obvious that you are in your zone of genius that it sells, without really a lot of effort. But then you also have to learn to witness yourself in that flow, right? So I have a whole literally 3-hour class on this, so I'm not going to go crazy here, but I will say, I believe that the journey, right, we're talking about, our offers are particular points in that journey. So I like to visualize it as a yurt, right? You have a yurt like on a path, right? And what is in your yurt? Like, what activities are you doing in there? What is the decor like? What's the vibe? And also, what are the rules to come in here? Wow. And that's where we start to set boundaries around who our clients are. I do not work with a single person who doesn't inspire me. No. I don't. No. If you don't inspire me, go see somebody else. Because if I'm not inspired, I'm not going to do my best with you. And that's a standard that I've had to learn through, trial and error. But that's where that soulmate client document that I was telling you about really comes in handy. So it's almost like, you shall not pass unless you kind of meet this criteria. And that's what your marketing does. That's the part of your marketing. It starts to kind of lead people on their journey towards you, but it also prepares them and creates moments of consciousness, moments of just deep awareness around where they're at and where they're going, so that by the time they approach your yurt, they're ready to come in, right? Because it sucks when someone's there and they're eager and they're excited, but they're not ready. They're not ready. So you have to send them somewhere else, or, and not even just the finances, but like the level of work that you want to do. right? Because especially for business coaches, if you happen to have people that watch that are business coaches, like if you're bored with your clients, it's not sustainable. And that's really the driving belief under all of this. Like if you're bored, if you're not energized, it's not sustainable, especially if you're intuitive, right? Because you're always going to have more ideas that are more exciting to pursue. So if you find yourself being, bored or just like not lit up by what you're doing, change it right now, literally right now, because you can't force yourself into being into something. Like you just, especially at this level of work. And so it's a matter of integrity, in my opinion. But the stuff to have in there is just more like, what do you feel is going to make this experience transformative and it's going to energize you? So think about this, you're almost like your own mini little Disneyland. Like, what are all the little stops? What are all the things that we're doing in there? And is this sufficient to create this transformation that I'm promising? If not, let's adjust some language, let's adjust some expectations. But top priority is staying engaged and excited about the work in there.
That's beautiful. And if we're attracting clients who are not our perfect soulmate and they don't light us up, like what do we need to look for? Or let's say, especially people are attracting clients and the clients are all excited in the beginning, but then things like fizzle and like it just the magic fades and like there's frustration and things like that. Like what do we need to go to work on to be able to transform that?
I think it's radical honesty about the situation. What exactly happened? What needs to be happening that isn't happening? And can you reset? Right. So I've had moments like that where I've kind of like been weird. It's been weird with clients. Like we skip a call and then things happen and whatever. So I just like speak right to it. Hey, so I'm feeling a little bit weird about our dynamic right now. What do you need from me? And this is a really helpful tool for quality assurance. Just like a quick tip for y'all. Like if you're not asking that question from your clients on a regular basis, there could be like resentment building up. There could be a lot of stuff building up on the back end. So just semi-frequently, I have it set up so like I do it at the end of every month. I have a calendar reminder because otherwise I'll forget. And I'll just say, hey, we've been doing this for a month. How are you feeling? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? Am I talking to you too much? Am I not talking to you enough? What do you need, in terms of support as you're embodying this particular thing or working towards this particular thing? And then there's no unspoken awkwardness because then I call it right out. But if you find yourself just attracting clients who just generally aren't a full fit, probably go back to the drawing board with who excites you, who makes you feel like, who makes you feel like you can be your full self, right? Because when I first came into this, like the spiritual aspect, I felt not spiritual enough for the spiritual folks, but also not muggle enough for the non-spiritual. It was just like kind of in this weird space. And I've had this journey of becoming my full self in the last couple of years. Thank you, Saturn return. And so I've just been like more unapologetic. And I say, I want people who I could go dancing with as my clients. I want people who I could have fun with as my clients and inspire me, and I would hire them. Like those are the people that I like to work with, and that hasn't steered me wrong so far. So
damn, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. What do you see as far as how social media is evolving? Like, what do you see are the trends that we need to be paying attention to? And in marketing in general, it doesn't just have to be on social media. There's a lot of different kinds of marketing. What do you see as trends that are happening?
Okay, two things for sure. Long form searchable content. YouTube blogs, podcasts, like which you're rocking, so good job. But like honestly, long-term searchable content is what ends up stacking up over time. So a lot of times people will be too social with their strategy, or not too social, but only social. And then they don't really have any of this back-end stuff building up. And they have some sort of lull in their personal life, or they just like don't feel as posting as much, and then their income drops, which sucks, right? So you need to have long-term searchable content building up. You can build it up slowly. You don't have to go ham and do 12-hour live streams. That's not for everybody. But if you are like really, which is number 2, disseminating that content all over the place, double readership, triple readership, quadruple readership. Can we make this into an Instagram story, Instagram TV video, Instagram posts, Pinterest, LinkedIn? Like there's one piece of content can have so much life if you're just conscious with it. And I think a lot of the people in the industry have gotten used to overdoing it on the creation, just like constantly having to like tear their souls open and like, you know, have this whole bleeding heart thing happening, which is fine, but that's exhausting after a while, especially if you don't feel like your content's really working for you. So the best thing to do with that content, the really powerful stuff, is to turn it into a couple of other pieces of content for other platforms. And that continues to build you up everywhere across the board. And I think it's just really helpful. But then I actually thought of a third thing. This is going to be probably different than anybody that's on here that's said, but guys got to check out TikTok. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to drop it here. I've been talking about it nonstop for the last few months on my page. I have had several people who have taken my little training on it, $97, super train, and they're getting 50,000 views on their videos. Wow. You know, and so where do you get views like that? Not Facebook, that's for sure. So don't sleep on TikTok. That's it.
Wake up, people. Wake up.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah.
I love it. Nannette. This is gold. Gold. Let's talk about copywriting. We mentioned a little bit earlier. Where do you feel people are messing up with their copywriting, communicating, the value of what's in their offer? Because it can be difficult to know what to put, what not to put, like over talking, not talking enough. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So the first part of this is really being intimately aware of like the value. And this is challenging for people, especially intuitives, because it's easy. It's easy for you to be how you are. It's easy for you to hold space. You don't really have to effort into it. And so when things are easy, we don't really like shine a light on them as much. You know, we'll say things like, I just blah, 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 blah. And we kind of dim, you know, like shut it down or dim it when the things that are easiest for you are exactly why people should hire you. Like I would probably never hire a marketing coach, even if I had all the money in the world, because I don't need help with that. But would I hire, you know, like a breathwork person? Absolutely. Like I would totally do that. But again, it's just so complementary to where someone's at. And so remembering that even if it's not a big deal to you, it can absolutely be a big deal to people. And so kind of having fresh eyes when looking at the work that you do. Go read some testimonials, go do video testimonials if you can do that, because then you start to see what parts of your work were actually most transformative for your clients. Because you may think, oh, for me, I thought for years, oh, the strategy is so dope. Like people really love this strategy. I like killed the strategy. But every single one of my clients is like, you give me permission to be myself in my business. And I love that. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't realize that was the value. But the marketing strategy I could do with my eyes shut in 2 seconds. Like it's just so natural for me, especially as I'm becoming more like familiarized with all the different parts of digital marketing. Not difficult. I see it. It takes me a couple of seconds to figure it out. But the practice of, you know, being yourself fully in your business, that's way harder for people to embody, right? So that's more of our time, you know, together. So if I were writing for me, I would talk about that part way more. And I would briefly mention the strategy because that's what people think they want from me. But I will say I've been writing about personal development, my own growth journey, my own healing, and I have created multiple $100,000 in my business, rarely talking about marketing. So that's important because people feel like they have to beat the same subject over and over and over. But really, the best thing that you could do for your copywriting, straight up, sit down, you got your soulmate client in your mind. What do they need to hear today? And then say that. Just, it's super, super simple, right? You know, and if at the very minimum, it'll be a word of encouragement, right? But at the maximum, it could be exactly what someone needed to hear in order to make that final click and say, hey, all right, I'm ready to hire you. And so that's, especially if you do that consistently. So, you know, because you never know what's going to be the one that finally tips them over. So continuing to show up in this capacity where you're of service, but it's also satisfying to express yourself that way. It's never at the cost of you. That's like my big thing. I don't want people to say, oh, what do they want to hear? And then completely like forget to express themselves. It's a balance or harmony of the two.
I love what you said about it could be the one that finally tips them over. Cause I think there could also be a lot of resignation energy in social media for a lot of people who've been doing it and like haven't experienced results. Like I know that it can be frustrating, especially when people are beginning or they don't have that proven track record and momentum and feeling around it. Or even there could be different seasons, right? Some people might just be like super hot and like track 10 new clients in a month, and it's like, fuck yeah, you know? And then like in 3 months from now, it's like, well, what happened? Where did I go wrong? What am I missing now? And it's like they can get in their own way. But I think that remembering that this one post could be the one thing that someone in my audience needed to sign up, to convert, to reach out to me, to even like, that's the enlightened self-interest perspective. And then there's also the contribution perspective of like, this one post could be the thing that truly transforms someone's life. It truly like makes their day. It truly like derails them from spiraling down and gets them their power back so that they can truly be happy and continue on their journey of becoming their greatest possible self or whatever it is.
Right. And you're so on the money with that. I talk about this all the time because even if your content doesn't convert right now, if someone makes an association with your content in a pivotal moment of their life, that's not going to go away, right? Like if they learn that they can be their greatest possible self from you, right? Then when they're ready to fully engage that in like an investment capacity, who are they going to call? Obviously you, right? And so long game, like it's just long game. And I think a lot of times with people on social media, they see the numbers, they see this, 100K in 90 days, blah, blah, blah. And like, obviously that's all possible and more.
Yes.
However, the motivation behind all of this should be vision. It should be much, much bigger than the next 90 days. And so I think that people can really connect with that level of conviction to your vision. And so when you continue to show up with your content and people can tell that you're not like desperate, angsty or whatever, that's going to really help. And the best way to do that is to anchor into your vision and say, okay, what am I creating here? And that's another part of like clarity that I think it unfolds over time, because if they're not even sure that they can pick their soulmate clients, truly pick them, then going into like picking their vision, they have like a little baby vision compared to the actual vision for their life. They just have to create the space for it in their mind. So, in terms of like with media and marketing, they always say you need 8 exposures, right? 8 exposures. It's like the magical number, right? But if you were thinking about what I just said a few minutes ago, that one post can turn into 8 posts, right? And so you don't have to create. You can start to circulate. And I really wish people would have more systems around their content. Like if you write a baller post, go save that in a Google Doc. Like you never know when you can pull that out of the thing. You can put it into an email, you can put it into a blog post, you can turn it into a video later. Like you don't have to know exactly what you're doing with it, but please don't just write your posts into Facebook and then forget about them, because there's like some real pearls in there. So, another PSA, put that away somewhere so then you can turn it into some other post some other day. And even if it just inspires some more content later on, that's fine. But don't waste your content.
I love it. Nannette. And I want to just reinforce for the people out there who are listening your vision and where you're going and what you're creating, so that they could see themselves either being a part of it, supporting you, or even jumping on board, being one of your clients. And we'll talk about how they can do that. But just tell us a little bit more about like where you're going and what you're excited about.
Yes. Thank you. So I'm very, very passionate about storytelling and using that as a medium for marketing, specifically in the transformation and coaching industry. And so I own an agency where I offer coaching, consulting, and done for you services, where we will be essentially a media company at some point. Like we're in the process of becoming that, but I want to bring commercials into the coaching space, and not just like cheesy commercials, but remember earlier when we were talking about behaviors?
Yes.
Right. So we would create scenes and like depict a lot of these things because they're so nuanced. And a lot of times we try to flatten it into writing. And I feel like that does it a disservice sometimes. I think it's a lot more potent to see someone who you can energetically recognize where they're at. It's familiar. And then you notice them go through a particular shift or a particular moment, right? The hero's journey, the story arc, right? So I want to be doing that with all content that comes out of my company, which is called Sold Out Media. So that is like the big vision for that, where we're creating marketing that's beautiful, that's impactful, that's profitable,
Yep.
right? But it's also an expression of an idea, rather than just like, I'm going to type these words and they're going to give me money. It's very much like a creation and a creative aspect, to all of this. And so there's that. But right now I am doing that with just one-on-one clients because it's so big, right? I have to know your business intimately. I have to know where you're going and all of that. And so one-on-one clients work with me for a 6-month basis, where we do all of this stuff, right? And I have worked with people who are new, like just they have an idea and they go. And I've worked with people who have already been making, 6 figures in their business and continue to. But I really I like to create a very custom, expectation for everybody involved. But ultimately, your content and your marketing will be more impactful. It'll be more you, and it'll be like sustainable because of that. As you continue to develop and grow, you'll have the tools to up level your content and your marketing kind of in tandem, right? Because I think a lot of us, that's where the Sold Out name actually came from, was I use business to grow, like as a person, as a being, right? Like I continue to put myself in scary situations and like even doing this is a big like, whoo moment for me, right? And I use it to kind of continue to create new frontiers for myself.
Yeah.
And so I use it to grow. And this is what I really like. I believe that business does for intuitives. I believe that people who commit their lives and their careers to helping other people are going to have all these opportunities to grow. But a lot of times they grow and then their marketing doesn't grow with them and they don't really know where to be. And so that's what's really fun for me, like helping all of it kind of be congruent, but also giving you the tools to level it up. So yeah, if people do want to work with me though, it'd be coaching, consulting, or done for you services. So we'll create the strategy together. I call it co-creating. We're like, it's very woo, we get into the zone and then we will implement it for you. So create the landing pages, sales pages, copywriting, all of that.
Beautiful.
It's all handled.
I love it. I love it, Nannette. So there's a lot of different ways people can get involved with you. I know you were talking about your Soulmate client worksheet or freebie that you have.
Workbook, yeah.
Yep. Tell us a little bit more about that and how people can get in contact with you, Nannette.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a free workbook on just like understanding the concept of soulmate client, and it asks you some questions just to get the ball rolling in your mind, because I want to set a very clear expectation really quick. You don't just like decide your soulmate client in a split second and then go on your merry way. There is kind of a shedding that has to happen. If you've been attracting not your soulmate client for a while, you're going to have to redirect your content, redirect your strategy. But I do want to start with that clarity. And so in the book, I have just some questions about, what energizes you? Where do you want to meet your people? What kind of ways do you like to create your marketing, so that you kind of start to acclimate yourself with this whole idea, because it is very radically different from how other people are teaching marketing. So I don't want to, overwhelm you at the beginning, but that's just available for like as a free download. I think I have it linked around here somewhere. But it's a little workbook, and I've gotten some amazing feedback from it. People really love this workbook. I've been updating it every couple of months since 2016, and it's still my highest performing opt-in of all time. Damn. So people really love it. And it's a really good way to get your feet wet with this concept and, feel it out for yourself.
I love it. I love it. So I will put the link for that in the comments on the Facebook Live. It'll also be on the show notes for the podcast and blog posts, all that great stuff. And then to contact you, is there any specific way you love for people to contact you, Nannette? Yes. Right now I'm really focused on Instagram. Okay. So just Nannette Minley is my username. No hyphens, dots, or anything like that. And I'm on there primarily using stories right now, but I love chatting with people. So if you see this and you want to just connect, and we don't have to go anywhere with it, but I would love to connect with people who resonate with you, Chris, because it's the vibe. So
Instagram is probably the best way. My Facebook inbox is just out of control. I just don't even go there anymore. You got to talk to me on Instagram.
And isn't it a blessing though? It's like such a blessing. Yes. There's so much engagement, so much activity.
Yeah, it is awesome. Especially because my birthday, everyone's just like messaging me, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to miss anything important. So actually, I did a live yesterday. I was like, email me, please. Like, if it's important, please email me. Yeah, I
love it.
But I am super blessed. I love the people I've connected with as a result of this journey. I've talked about you talked about Maximilian, but we've been masterminding for a long time. Just like one of my closest friends at this point, and he told me about you a long time ago. He's like, I gotta check this guy out. So I started watching, and I watched his segment. I watched some more, and so I'm just really happy to be here and like so grateful for this opportunity that just kind of popped up, which is awesome.
Absolutely, Nannette. So again, they can spell your name Nannette, Minley, Minley, and that's Instagram. You can go to NannetteMinley.com. Go check out that freebie. It's in the comments on Facebook as well. And Nannette, thank you so much for being here, for shining your light and just being you. You are amazing. Thank you. And happy belated birthday as well. Everyone go wish Nannette a happy birthday. And
yes, I'm finally 30. I'm a grown up now. All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Bye.
All right. You too. Bye.